Welcome to the 12 Days of Christmas, and in this episode we are going to be reviewing the team that finished in 4th place, which is Force India. Now, Force India have been in Formula 1 for a good few years now, obviously since they made their debut in Formula 1, but they've been having some good results, obviously point finishes here and there, but obviously they're big chasing the massive thing, which is a race win. Obviously they really need to do that, and will they be able to do that this season? Well, there's only one way to find out. So they rolled it a 2016 season with Mexican driver Sergio Perez and the big man from Germany, Nico Hulkenberg. He's been at the team for a good few years now, jumping from Force India to Sauber and then back to Force India. And can he have a good season here? He has been tipped, he's been called Mr. Nearly Man, because he has always been there, been consistent, been in the points, but he has never been able to get his hands on the winner's trophy, or if that on the podium as well. So will he be able to do that? Well, again, as I said before, there's only one way to find out. Anyway, so they rolled in to Australia with a 13th place finish for Sergio Perez, but a good start of the season, for Nico Hulkenberg with a 7th place. The next round in Bahrain under the floodlights, again a track that they have done very well beforehand. Obviously Sergio Perez has got some podiums here in Bahrain, done very well, and it's also the second race of the season. If anything's like 2012, obviously Malaysia, he should be on for a good finish. Well, unfortunately that wasn't the case. It was a 16th place finish for Sergio Perez and a 15th for Nico Hulkenberg. The next race in China was an 11th place for Sergio Perez and a 15th for Nico Hulkenberg. In Russia, there was a 9th place for Sergio Perez and a retirement for Nico Hulkenberg. And the first race of the European season with a 7th place for Sergio Perez and a retirement for Nico Hulkenberg, making it 2 retirements in two races. Now, once we got to Spain, after we finished Spain, now you might look and say, well, hang on a minute, guys, just hang on a minute, okay? We have Williams, okay, they have both drivers who have scored points in every single round leading up to Spain. Obviously, they've had, as I say, very consistent points. Their best one obviously being in Russia, which obviously were the 5th and 4th. So, hang on a minute. As I say, we have Williams they're on top. They are really, they're on top. Obviously, they are blowing Force India out of the water. Force India haven't done any good results, to be honest, whatsoever, really. I mean, it is very disappointing, obviously, getting to the 5th round of the season. So can it improve from there? Well, I always say there's only one way to find out. Anyway, so we crack on and move forward, and obviously Monaco, really, obviously a very, very hard circuit. Obviously, it's a principality race. A lot of drivers have triumphed here. If you do well at this track, your name is remembered. It goes beyond the history books, this, really. And Sergio Perez did an unbelievable drive to not only finish on the podium, but he won Drive of the Day at the Monaco Grand Prix. Absolutely an unbelievable achievement by him. And then obviously Mr. Nearly Man finishes in 6th place. Obviously, again, a good points finish, a double points finish for the team. But I mean, obviously Sergio Perez's 3rd is absolutely unbelievable. Can he repeat that in Canada? Can he get anywhere close to that? Well, unfortunately, he gets in the point. Unfortunately, he doesn't get his 3rd place, but he gets in the points. Fortunately, he gets in the points. In 8th place, and his points finish for Nico Hulkenberg. But then, in the next race, so technically, if Canada never happened, Sergio Perez would have had double podiums on his hands, because at the European circuit in Baku, he finishes another 3rd place, which is absolutely unbelievable. So, I mean, Sergio Perez he's blown us out of the water with this. 2 podiums in 3 races is absolutely unbelievable. And Nico Hulkenberg finishes in 9th place, so just makes it into the points. The next round in Austria was a 17th for Sergio Perez and a 19th for Nico Hulkenberg. Then the next round at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, which isn't the team's home race, obviously because that's India. Obviously, India's a home race, their home, but because they have a factory which is literally within walking distance, or about, say, 10 seconds of walking between the main gates of Silverstone, the gate that me and JT have walked through on 2 occasions, obviously in 2010 and 2016. Yep. So their factory is just outside there, so obviously it is very much a home race for them. So they obviously did very, very, very well for that. Obviously it was very, very good for them. Obviously Nico Hulkenberg has an amazing race to finish in 7th place, and Sergio Perez finishes in 6th place. In the next round, we have an 11th place finish just outside the points. As I say, the worst position you can get for Sergio Perez, the worst person in Formula 1. Sergio Perez finishes in 11th, but Nico Hulkenberg makes it into the points in 10th. And then the last round of the first part of the season is a 10th place for Sergio Perez and a 7th place for Nico Hulkenberg. So we head into the summer break. Now, it's very much strange, okay, because we said yesterday, right, that Force India and Williams are battling each other. Now you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, LC, this can't be right, okay? Because we have Williams, who have basically they've blown us out of the water with their results. They have obviously, as I said earlier on in the video, they had 5 results. They had 5 races, obviously 5 rounds. Australia through to Spain, where they scored points. They were both drivers were in the top 10, and Force India, yes, they had finishes, but only a few odd times the drivers were in the top 10. A lot of the time it was out of the points and retirement. So come on, how are they battling each other? You must be off your nut. But this will happen. So obviously not yet, because obviously now at this moment Williams are ahead of Force India. But now as we head into the second part of the season, obviously as Force India are improving the car, obviously in the last few races definitely being shown, and Williams again slacking off in the last few races. So we're heading out of the summer break, which again a very good fight on our hands. So as well as Force India have got Williams to battle with, they have also got a big mountain to climb, because obviously that will be set in stone that they need to get a 4th place. Obviously Red Bull are doing much better than Ferrari. Ferrari is slipping back. The chances of Force India catching Ferrari are very, very dim. Chances of catching Williams, the future is bright, and a 4th place is definitely in their grasp, which obviously is, again, as I said, a few years ago, even like 2012, 2013, a 4th place finish for Force India would be like absolutely bonkers, obviously, and again challenging the teams like Williams. Anyway, let's get on to reviewing the drives. Now, obviously, let's start with Mr. Needy Man, Nico Hulkenberg. The car was, for the first part of the season, disappointing. I would give that a D, coming close to an E. But the spirit of Nico Hulkenberg, I would say, is very strong, so I'm going to give him a C. But on the other end of the spectrum, again, the performance of the car for Sergio Perez, he is pulling it up, so I'm going to say maybe a D+, getting close to a C-. But the effort of Checo, I'm going to give that an A*. Absolutely unbelievable. I was so impressed. He won Driver of the Day twice. Yeah. Come on, A*. That is unbelievable. Yeah, I'm just going to leave you speechless with that. So obviously JT, obviously you were impressed by Checo, yes, but were you enough to give him an A*? And how would you rate the Force after the first part of the season?
Well, definitely I was very, very impressed with Force India at the first half of the season, especially with Sergio Perez. Now, at this point in the season, he was actually linked with Ferrari, because apparently there was rumours that Raikkonen was going to be leaving. Apparently Sebastian Vettel, surprisingly, was going to be leaving. That was quite light, though. It was more Kimi Raikkonen, because obviously he was at the age where there was only another 6 months left on his contract or whatever. So Sergio Perez was heavily linked with that seat, and the results were backing him up to actually get that drive, because obviously he had that season at McLaren, very nearly ruined his career, let's not forget. So very lucky in that sense. Came to Force India, rejuvenated his career, honestly guys. It just has shown how good of a driver he actually is, and has shown how far Force India have progressed. This is the highest finish they've ever had in Formula 1. It was absolutely tremendous. Nico Hulkenberg, on the other hand, I was a bit disappointed with at the first half. You know what I mean? There's a few results I wasn't too impressed with. But let's not forget, guys, that Sergio Perez didn't score points in the first 3 races. So that is very, very bad, in my opinion. So again, it does prove that he can actually, within time, if you are patient enough to actually get the results in the end, because he did get 2 podiums, which obviously for a team like Force India getting podiums, it's not very common. But let's see how the second half of the season gets underway from the team from Silverstone. So coming into Belgium, the first race after the summer break, 5th place for Sergio Perez, 4th place for Nico Hulkenberg. Very, very strong there. You can definitely tell that the pace hasn't been lost at the first half of the season, and that the both drivers are very determined to actually catch Williams, because as at this stage it was very, very close between these two. Williams were edging Force India, but Force India could and would end up catching them in the end. At the Italian Grand Prix, 8th place for Sergio Perez, 10th place for Nico Hulkenberg, which then followed by a retirement at the Singapore Grand Prix, where he did that catastrophic start, if you remember. Basically left the grid and bang into the wall. Basically that was Nico Hulkenberg's race in Singapore. Very dramatic race, that one. 8th place for Sergio Perez. The following Grand Prix, another double point scoring finish. 6th place in Malaysia for Sergio Perez, and 8th place for Nico Hulkenberg. At the Japanese Grand Prix, 7th place for Sergio Perez, 8th place again for Nico Hulkenberg, followed by another retirement in America. 8th place there for Sergio Perez. Very, very consistent results there for both drivers. Very impressive. And at this stage, Force India did overtake Williams. So again, for money wise, that was excellent. For Force India's progression wise, that was amazing. A team that's been here since the 70s, multiple drivers champions, multiple constructors championships won. Force India, not even a race win under their belt, and they're still beating a team like them, so it just proves how good they actually are. At the Mexican Grand Prix, Sergio Perez's home race, 10th place for him, 7th place for Nico Hulkenberg, 4th place for Sergio Perez at the Brazilian Grand Prix, another 7th place for Brazil for Nico Hulkenberg, and at the final round, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, 8th place for Sergio Perez, and for Nico Hulkenberg, yes, you guessed it, another 7th place. That's 3 7th places in a row for Nico Hulkenberg. Very tremendous form ending out the season. But looking at the results there, guys, Sergio Perez actually scored points in every single round from Germany to the end of the season. That is impressive. That is very good reliability. That just proves how good Force India have been. That just proves how strong Sergio Perez has been. And for him not to be at a big seat, such as McLaren, that's debatable, such as Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari, for example, it is surprising, but people are arguing, he is getting on a bit. He had that chance at McLaren, they didn't give him a car, he got to Force India, and now they're doing well. So I think maybe if he does want to have a good shout, and maybe win a Drivers' Championship, or maybe even win a race, Force India is the team to do that. So overall, as a whole, I'm going to give them the grades, and I'm going to start with Nico Hulkenberg. Now, I was very, very disappointed with Nico Hulkenberg this season. Yes, he got some good results, but there was still no podium. He hasn't had a podium in Formula 1 yet. How long has it been now? He's been in since 2010 with Williams, had a year out, 2012 Force India, 2013 Sauber, 2014, 15 and 16 with Force India. Teams that aren't really going to argue with the podium, especially at the first half, but now, he's been at Force India for 3 years, he hasn't had a podium. And again, the same as said this season. So I'm going to give him, for Nico Hulkenberg, performance, I'll give him a D. Effort, I'm going to give him a C. We'll give him a C for an effort, because he did try, he did have the car, he did get some good results, but podium, if he had the podium, I would be giving him a C. Now, Sergio Perez, performance B, effort A star, definitely without a doubt. Arguably, he was in contention with driver of the season, without a doubt. Tremendous drive from Sergio Perez, scoring loads of points throughout this season. Very stamped his authority in Formula 1 to finish in the top 10. Very, very impressive there. So, as a whole for Force India, I would say effort a B, performance an A, without a doubt. The highest finish in Formula 1, 4th place. You can actually look back and look at the progress they've made. They've gone higher, dropped a bit one season, got higher again, dropped a bit. Now they're at the peak 4th place. What can they do from here? The only way for Force India is up. And I'm pretty damn sure, as like I said before, is that the next team to dominate Formula 1 will be Force India, and I guarantee you that will be the case. Don't count your chickens just yet. Do not count them chickens just yet, because don't quote me on that, I might be wrong. But in my opinion, my feelings would be Force India is the team to do that. Would you agree with me on that, Elsa?
Obviously, Force India are a team that are definitely growing. Out of all of the new teams or the new-ish teams in Formula 1, obviously to Force India is absolutely unbelievable. And as you said, JD, obviously, coming out, obviously they were saying, you're beating Williams, who obviously have had absolutely an amazing legacy. Well, you all know it's an amazing legacy with Formula 1. Williams and Formula 1 go hand in hand. They're also beating Williams, but obviously remember also they're beating McLaren. Just to chuck that out there, guys. They're also beating McLaren. Yeah. But obviously, absolutely unbelievable performance by them. They've also got, it's not just the team or luck or anything like that. They've got 2 unbelievable drives. Now, obviously, Nico Hulkenberg, it is a shame where he is at the moment. Obviously, he is going to Renault next season. What can he do? He does need to get on the podium. He does need a win. And obviously, I've got to say, just on the topic of that, I know we're going a bit off topic here because obviously we're talking about Renault and we did that ages ago. But, obviously, when me and JT first heard that Nico was going to Renault, obviously, we were a bit like, hang on a minute. If he can't get a podium or a win with Force India, how on God's earth do you think you'll be able to get a podium or a win with Renault? Obviously, hopefully they will do better next year. Obviously, again, as JT said, don't count your chickens yet. But obviously, obviously Renault could do that. Force India, though, I think they have. At the end of the day, obviously, from Nico Hulkenberg leaving, it depends, obviously, where they are pre-season and blah, 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 but he might look back, obviously, in hindsight, is the easiest side to talk in, but he might look back and think, I should have stayed with Force India, because how they performed this year, and obviously how Sergio Perez has, they might be a team, as JE said, to do unbelievable things in 2017, absolutely amazing. Just, I'm so excited to see, obviously, what they can do, and obviously, they have another great driver that's coming on board, obviously, Esteban Ocon, a driver who I am definitely, I'm saying we're both saying, but obviously he is a diamond in the rough, really. He's just some guy who I think you pick him, you get him, you know, you never lose him, and you think that he is going to achieve absolutely unbelievable things. Obviously, there's been people like that in Formula 1 before. If you were a Max Verstappen, you know, a diamond picker, well done you, because obviously he went into he became something great. You know, obviously, if you're a Pascal Wehrlein picker, possibly because he might be going to Mercedes. Obviously, time recording, he hasn't yet, but he might do. Or possibly, I should say yes, maybe, because you know, we think he will do anyway. But anyway, you know, I mean, obviously, again, but Pascal Lowe, obviously, an amazing guy. Obviously, there's been other people in Formula 1. Obviously, we did back the late Joe Bianchi. He could have definitely bloomed into something amazing. But anyway, we're saying that Esteban Ocon definitely could have. And obviously, his move to Force India was something that both me and JT were so excited about. I think that's probably the biggest and the best transfer of, like, you know, this season going into next season. I think that's the biggest one. Esteban Ocon going to Force India. Whatever happens at Mercedes, whatever happens anywhere else on the grid, I think that is the biggest one. Obviously, stuff will definitely impress me, and I will of JE as well, obviously being a McLaren fan. But Esteban Ocon was, I'd say, it's the biggest one. So I'm very happy to see what he can do. The team. So my grades before we end out this episode. My grades. Okay, so I'm going to say that the team have been a very strong team. So I'm going to say it's a C. A C at the moment, again, is a good progression. It's a good benchmark. As I've said in other episodes, it's a good springboard to go into 2017. The grids for the drivers, obviously the performance of the car, again, I would just say is a C, but that's stronger than what I gave for the first part of the season. Nico Hulkenberg is, again, growing, but, you know, kind of slacking a bit. So, again, I would say a C. But strong, though. He's had some very good points finishes. And JT, obviously, as you said, in A-star, is very good for Sergio Perez. I would give him the first part of the season, and I would also give it the second part of the season, so I'd fully agree with you. Sergio Perez is very close to the driver of the season. You'll have to wait and find out if he actually gets that prestige from the F1 debate show. But, I mean, just absolutely amazing by this guy. So, obviously, an A-star, the first A-star so far that we have ever given on the first edition of the 12 days, but the first ever anything is absolutely unbelievable. So obviously Sergio Perez, unbelievable, and he's going to be the leader of the team next year. What can he do with Esteban? And as I say now, you know, he's got the team, he's been there for a few years, and he's had this amazing dominant season. I'm so happy, and as JT said, to be honest, everyone, you are right as you say that. I mean, obviously, don't count your chickens too soon. You never can in Formula 1. Nothing's predictable, as we saw with obviously Verstappen going to Red Bull, what happened in Spain, things like that. The bish bash and bosh, and then obviously Nico retiring. Nothing's predictable in Formula 1, so we don't know. But this team, I've got to say, is the biggest shock, but a good shock in the way. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching the Force India review. Obviously, it is great that we have made it, that you've kept with us so far. Tomorrow, we are going to be reviewing the team that made it on the bottom step of the podium, which obviously is Ferrari, an absolutely fantastic team, the longest serving team in Formula 1, absolutely unbelievable. They've had amazing progress, amazing progression. They come into 2016 with after three wins by Sebastian Vettel. So what can they do in 2016? Well, as I say, there's only one way to find out, and that is to watch tomorrow's video when we do Ferrari. Make sure you catch yesterday's video where we do Williams, and then again, all of the constructors episodes in descending order are in this playlist, the 12 days of F1 debate show. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you tomorrow when we review Ferrari. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.
See you later, guys.